So hello everyone and welcome to this Employability virtual webinar focusing on job search in Luxembourg. So my name is Christina Lefebvre. I'm a third year student at EMLYON Business School PGE program, and I'm also the president of the International Student Board Association, the BDI, Bureau des Internationaux, and I will be today's webinar moderator. So thank you very much for joining this first session of the new Employability World Tour edition. So it's a series of webinars in a world tour to meet EMLYON alumni and recruitment experts around the world. And it aims at presenting the employment specificities in various countries. So this year, we will focus on employment in 5 European countries: Luxembourg, Ireland, Switzerland, the Netherlands, and also Italy. So the webinars will take place every 2 months until July 2023. They are free of charge and open to students and alumni. You're most than welcome to join us for this Europe tour and discover these 5 destinations together. So today we're going to discover a very attractive destination as far as employment is concerned, Luxembourg. So I would like to thank warmly our 3 speakers, Dilara, Mehdi, and Emmanuel, who will share their experience and knowledge of the Luxembourg job market with you. So these 3 speakers are EMLYON graduates. And before we start, I would like to just make some quick notes on the technical aspects of this webinar. So firstly, we kindly ask you to stay on mute during the speaker's presentation. However, you can turn your camera on, and we encourage you to open your microphones and ask questions directly to the speakers during the Q&A session. You can also use the discussion box. So please note that this session is recorded so that we can share to students and alumni who can't attend today's webinar. So I now turn to our speakers who will introduce themselves. So women first, Dilara, the floor is yours.
Dilara, you're on mute. Dilara, can you hear us? You're on mute. Okay, so...
Oh yeah, it's okay.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. So very happy to attend this webinar today. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm a recruitment manager at Hayes, Luxembourg for about 2 years. So I did my EMLYON exchange program in 2019. Initially, I had a master's degree from Louis Business School, and we had the chance to have a summer term in EMLYON, which I really enjoyed. And after my studies, I went firstly for internship in Luxembourg as an IT recruiter, and then I continued my career in Hayes, Luxembourg. I evaluated to a team leader, and now I'm a recruitment manager of 8 people in team contracting, and I'm focusing on IT profiles mainly, but I will be more than happy to give some tips and overall the facts about Luxembourg market, so it could help you in your career search. So this quickly about me.
Thank you very much, Dilara. Emmanuel, can you present yourself, please?
Yes, well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks also for asking me to participate to this Employability World Tour. I am now 28 years in Luxembourg, to which you need to subtract 2 years where I was expatriated in Paris. I'm a ESC Lyon, sorry, I keep on that, 91, so it's PGE 91. I've made all of my career in the asset management industry, with past experience in all sides, all facets of the asset management, back to front, front to back, including public affairs and stuff like that. And I think I have a pretty good knowledge of Luxembourg, and I will try to demystify a certain number of preconceived ideas on the Grand Duchy.
Perfect. Thank you, Emmanuel. Now it's the turn of Mehdi.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this webinar. So, personally, I'm not from the 2001. I'm from more 2021. But yes, it's my second year at Luxembourg. I'm a senior consultant in financial services at PwC. I did my master degree in EMLYON, and I specialized my master in strategy and consulting. Then I moved to, I worked for some other company like Enedis, which is EDF, and another company which name is Credit Safe as a consultant during 2 years. And now it's been 2 years I'm senior consultant at PwC. So I'm here to also speak about my experience as a consultant in finance in Luxembourg and in a Big Four in Luxembourg.
Thank you, both of you. So now we're going to talk about the webinar's agenda. So firstly, we will focus on the employment situation, industries, and employment trends. Then we will talk about job interviews, and we will mainly talk about cultural specificities. And last but not least, we will finish by the top 3 best advice to job seekers. So Dilara will present you the employment situation, industries, and employment trends in Luxembourg.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna start. So first, I wanted to mention about demographic situation in Luxembourg. So there are about 600,000 people in Luxembourg, and half of population is expats. So almost like 45% of people who are living in Luxembourg, they're coming from different countries. So it's very multicultural environment, and also a lot of cross-border workers. Regarding employment rate, we can see it's like on 70%. So it's people who employed compared to all people of the working age, you can say like this. So it's still a good amount. And even for the year of COVID, after pandemic, we can see that a lot of jobs are open, and it's quite a dynamic market. So a little bit regarding minimum wages salary. So Luxembourg is quite attractive for employers because the salary and some work benefits, they are quite attractive to work here. So the minimum salary for September 2022 it's 2,300 euros. And I have to say that for internship, in most of the cases, the internship is paid. So when I was doing my internship in 2019, it was about 1,400 euros a month. Do not consider some bonuses. So it's still good for interns and stagiaires to do an internship in Luxembourg and then to transform your contract in a permanent contract. And I took some information regarding the top 10 of jobs in 2022. So you can see that in IT, we have a lot of requests. I'd like to introduce the ADEM. So it's Agency for Employment. In fact, it's like institution in Luxembourg who help to find a job and also helps with unemployment. And for example, in this website, adem.lu, I saw that there are 14,000 jobs open only for IT. So there is a lack of specialists in IT field, and me as IT recruiter, I always try to influence other people from France, Belgium, Italy, all over Europe to come to Luxembourg and to start their career here or develop his or her career here in Luxembourg. So we have highly demand for IT developers, infrastructure specialists, etc., data analysts and data engineers. Then we have the jobs for accountants, in general for financial audit and control. You see jobs related to financial sector like credit analysis, banking risks, but also what is maybe different to compare 2020. In 2022, we've noticed that a lot of jobs in hospitality industry is raising because they had a freeze for hiring during pandemic. And now a lot of companies are understaffed, like for hotels, for some kitchen aid in the restaurants, because there are a lot of people who come to Luxembourg who work and they need to eat somewhere, they need to sleep somewhere. And in a hotel industry, if you're interested, it's also a good idea to come to Luxembourg. I did my studies in hospitality, in tourism management, but when I arrived, by chance, I entered the IT recruitment and HR field. But at that moment, there were not so many jobs open in tourism area, but now it's more increasing. Regarding some trends for finding a job, I wanted to encourage you as a job seeker to follow the job boards, because there are many different sources where you can find the jobs in Luxembourg. So I already mentioned ADEM, there is the career platform, and there are plenty of commercial job websites like Monster, jobs.lu, LinkedIn as well, where you can constantly see what other offers in Luxembourg for internship, for a permanent contract, for training programs as well. So this is about employment situation.
Okay, perfect. It was super clear. Now we can have the point of view of Emmanuel about the employment situation too.
Yes, thank you, Dilara, for the picture on the current trends. I think one of the myths about Luxembourg is that people outside of the country do think that Luxembourg is finance only, and it is far from being true. If you look at the largest employers in the country, you first have trade and commerce, because, well, obviously inhabitants need to feed themselves and to buy some food. Then the number two is construction. I'm used to saying that Luxembourg is the constant roadworks. There are roadworks everywhere and constantly. So construction is really a sector which is on the high end. And then only third comes the financial services industry, which includes insurance companies, banks and credit institutions, and asset management. Luxembourg is ranked number 2 worldwide after the US in terms of mutual funds industry. But on top of my head, I think that the financial services industry contributes to something like 1/4 or 1/3 of the GDP only. And you have many, many more other sectors and the also party industry. To give you a number of concrete examples of what you can find in Luxembourg outside of the financial industry, you might have heard about SES, Société Européenne de Satellites, the Astra satellites. It's based in Luxembourg, and it is a very good example of a joint venture between the public sector and the private sector. Cargolux is one of the largest freight-only airline, and it has a fleet of about 60 747 cargoes. I think they have something like 2,000 employees. Goodyear could be an example as well. One of the top research centers for trials of Goodyear is in Luxembourg. And to give you another very self-speaking or self-explanatory example, all the windows that are on the Burj Khalifa in Dubai have been produced in Luxembourg. So obviously banking traditionally was oriented towards private banking, and it has evolved over the last 10, 15 years towards wealth management, wealth planning, thanks to a unique toolbox that we have from the regulators, with all the tools that we need to perform good wealth planning and optimize, I wouldn't say, optimize our succession rights. I think Dilara has already touched base on that, but basically the country is, or has been over the last 25, 28 years, almost at full employment rate. Today it's 5.7% unemployment. And well, the amount of job vacancies that are published on the ADEM website is self-explanatory. And I think something which is also very important from someone said, yes, ArcelorMittal, you're right, the worldwide headquarters of ArcelorMittal is based in Luxembourg. Same Amazon, for example, has 5,000 employees in Luxembourg. So the country is very well diversified in terms of very large companies, and not only financial headquarters or holding headquarters. And it's also a country of entrepreneurship. You have a very large number of small and mid-sized companies and entrepreneurial companies. So for example, my company, we're 28 as I speak after 10 years. Something which is really key also to Luxembourg, to understand Luxembourg, apart from the fact that you have over 100 different nationalities represented in the country, is that you have almost half of the workforce which is commuting from neighboring countries every morning and every evening. So from France, from Germany, and from Belgium. And if you take it from the work-life balance, you can perfectly do some shopping in France in the morning and in Germany in the afternoon, and then have dinner in Belgium. That's not very common, but it's not unstandard.
Thank you for both of you. It was super interesting. Now we can go to part 2 of the webinar about job interviews and cultural specificities. And we will start with Mehdi's experience about these cultural specificities in Luxembourg for job interviews.
Yes. So what I wanted to say about cultural specificities, because I think there is 2 slides, one really focused on tips on job interview, and another one on cultural specificities. So this one is really focused on cultural specificities. Since I arrived, the main difference that I saw, and I'm going to be a bit critical with the French mindset, for example, is that I really, really appreciate and I really enjoyed working in this multiculturalism environment in Luxembourg. People are coming from all around the world. That's huge. I know that, for example, at PwC, we are 85 different nationalities. So that's crazy. I'm working in teams where people are coming from, I don't know, Poland, Philippines, South America, US, South Africa. So that's huge. Singapore. So I really, really appreciate this, because you improved your skills, for example, basically in English, but also in terms of culture, in terms of experience. What I really appreciate also is that either you can come from all parts of the world, we have some common basis, which is education, which is expectation, and I'm going to say the basics. So that's really nice, because we are all here together in the same boat, and we go further together. So that's really nice. English is the I'm going to say the language used to work, but for people who speak French, most of the time outside we're going to speak French. There is also German. There is many Italians also, and Portuguese. So that's huge, and everybody's speaking English because that's how it is. For example, sometimes when you're in France, most of the people are speaking French, and when someone is speaking English, well, everybody continue to speak French, or most of the people are speaking French. That's not the case there. Everybody's caring about everybody, so most of the time, even if there is just one person who speaks English, everybody is switching in English, because we know that's how it is here. So that's really, really good. The other point, as I said, difference from France, it's the work mindset. Performance is 100 times more important than presence. We don't care about staying at the office until 7 just to stay until 7 and say, hey guys, I'm here until 7. No, you work, you perform, you grow up, and you evaluate in your company. Me, for example, I joined PwC as an intern the previous year, so in July 2021. 4 months after, so when I finished my internship, I've been promoted as senior associate at PwC. So of course, I had a bit of experience before, as I told you at the beginning, but still, once you demonstrate your capabilities, your work, when you show off your skills, and you show that you are able to deal and to manage and to handle responsibilities, you're going to grow up. You're going to grow up, because that's how it is. Performance is above everything here. So as I said, you get faster what you deserve if you demonstrate, and the management is totally different. As I said, people are coming from everywhere. You cannot apply just one management style. You cannot apply the French management style, the archaic one. You need to be more open-minded, because if you are not, as a manager, you're not able to demonstrate your capability as a manager to understand the specificities of each person. You will not be able to manage your team. So it forces you to be more open-minded, to understand more, and to be more focused on performance and not on the form. So that's really a good thing. And I saw it, and I think it's really important. So someone wrote it. Many people think that Luxembourg, it's boring. Many people think that Luxembourg, there is nothing, and that's absolutely not the case. And most of the people who are going to say this, it's people who just come here to work and they leave to Paris, and they go back to their city on the weekend. They don't really take the time to appreciate Luxembourg, to live in Luxembourg, to fit in Luxembourg. And actually, there is so many things to do here. So I really wanted to make this point, because Luxembourg is not boring at all. That's important to say it. And cross-border versus Luxembourgish lifestyle. Depending your will, resources, and priority, you will choose to live or in Luxembourg or in the German, French, or Belgian border. The specificity of Luxembourg, most of the time you're gonna work at Luxembourg city, or in Esch, or in some cities which are in the south of Luxembourg. And Luxembourg is at 30 kilometers of France, 30 kilometers of Germany, and 30 kilometers of Belgium. So you can live in Arlon, you can live in Thionville, or you can live in the German side. And which is right is that, for example, you're gonna pay most of the time people who came as a junior or analyst, or in their first year, they are flat sharing in Luxembourg, because real estate is really, really expensive, and accommodation are really expensive in Luxembourg. It's almost more expensive than in Paris. So you're gonna pay for an apartment for 30 meters square in 30 meters square in Luxembourg. You're gonna pay 1,500 euro. So that could be really expensive. For just maybe come back on this, intern, for example, at PwC, when I was intern, I was paid 1,500 euro. Now it's 1,700 euro, or 750. Yeah. So small precision, because there is indexation on the inflation. And maybe the last point that I can drop here It's that worker population in Luxembourg is about to explode in the next years. So people are more and more looking at what is happening at on the border side, so the French side, German side, and Belgian side. I think I did the round of what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Mehdi. That's super interesting. Now it's the turn of Dilara. So you can go for it.
All right. So yeah, my my take on it, like I'm speak about technical preparation, like before the interview, during the interview, and after interview, what you can do. But firstly, maybe I can reply to the question in the chat because it's related to the job interviews. For example, is French student visa be able to work in Luxembourg? For internship, you don't have to obtain the work permit. And in my case, I was an Italian student. I had a permesso di soggiorno of Italian university. And within my master, it was mandatory for me to do a curriculum internship. So in that case, the contract was between my school, my university, and the company. So with a student visa, I was allowed to have a paid internship in Luxembourg for the 6 months. But if you're applying for the usual work, for the permanent contract, you have to obtain the work permit if you are not a European citizen. So there is several steps to apply for the work permit from your side and also from employer side. They had to get the certification from ADEM, from the same institution who's proposing some jobs and help with unemployment. So the employee had to request the certificate that they need, in fact, to hire someone from non-European Union. So during 3 weeks, they're proposing some candidates to employer to meet. And if employer didn't find, he can hire and sponsor someone. And this process to obtain the certificate takes 3 weeks. So it's quite fast. And after you could apply for work permit and start to work at the company. And the second question was like, are the employers open to sponsor the work permit for non-EU talents for commercial roles? Yes, they open. So it depends on your experience, in your skills. So if you are good value for the company, they will be open for you to open the work permit. And I think it's also advantage of Luxembourg compared to other European countries that Luxembourg is more open to candidates from non-EU. So regarding the job interviews, before the interview, I always suggest to do a research about the company, because simple HR question, which everybody will ask you, it's why us, why PwC, why Post, why ArcelorMittal. So it's good to always know what kind of news happening in the company, why you want to work there. To also, another point is to be present in social media. Like for me, it was very useful because I found my first internship and first job through LinkedIn. I just get headhunted. And if you really willing to maintain your LinkedIn page and become attractive for recruiters, I think it's a good point to put the picture on LinkedIn, to highlight your experience. If you were, for example, a president of alumni of EMLYON, this is good to mention because it means that you have some leadership qualities, maybe you obtain some certificates. So mention everything you have done in your university project, because it's a valuable experience. Also prepare some questions before the interview, because due to stress, due to the fact that we sometimes nervous during the interview, you can maybe forget about some things you wanted to ask. So write down things like questions about on-site and remote work, some evaluation in the company, because recruiters always want to see you engaged in the recruitment process. So if you have questions about the company, about Luxembourg, anything which come to your mind, it's a good moment to prepare your questions and ask during the interview. Even you can come with your notebook and have a look if you want to remind what you would like to ask. Then during interview, so the 21st seconds rule, the first impression which we make about the person is during the first 20 seconds. So it counts if you come on time for the interview, if your connection for the remote interview through the Teams meeting or Skype is good, because this is the first impression which you give to recruiter during your interview. Also, it's important, of course, how you look, how you dress, and make sure that you make a good first impression, because there is never a second first impression. I mentioned the STAR method. So when you speak about your experience, it's good to highlight what was the situation, the task you have done, what kind of action you performed, and what results you reach. So I guess you know this method, and it's helped recruiters and HR people to really understand what was your impact. Because when you put on your CV that you participated to some projects, okay, but what you did during this project, what was your involvement, what did you change, what kind of achievement you reached during your experience. So think about that. And after interview, what we encourage is to send a thank you email to recruiter, even if he didn't ask you to do that. So it can make a difference. And like this, you can also follow up your feedback. When I was looking for the job, I remember I had an Excel file and I had 300 applications before I found my first job. And I was a bit shy to, write recruiter, to call and to ask, okay, do you have some news for me? What is the follow-up? Because I thought I will be too annoying for recruiter. But in fact, now when I'm on the other side, I understand how much it's counting your motivation, because recruiters have a lot of emails, a lot of application, a lot of processes at the same time. And don't hesitate to be proactive. Don't hesitate even to write recruiter on LinkedIn and say, okay, it's been like 1-2 weeks after our interview. Do you have some feedback for me? This is totally normal to ask. And as recruiter, I appreciate when a candidate get back to me directly and I can share with him a feedback and be transparent. So this is regarding the job interviews process.
Thank you, Dilara. And there is a question in the chat. Before the interview, normally you have to send a resume and maybe a cover letter. Do you think it's important to send a cover letter in Luxembourg?
Okay, so your CV is more important than the cover letter. I would suggest to more focus on your CV, because sometimes your cover letter is not needed and it will not be read. But at the same time, I think that for your dream company, for example, if you always dream to work for, I don't know, Amazon or University of Luxembourg, it's good to put the cover letter and explain why you want to apply for this specific job. And sometimes I suggest you don't have to make a cover letter for each job you're applying, because it's time consuming. So I would suggest maybe to prepare a template as a cover letter. If sometimes during the application process, it's required to put the cover letter, but then you can change few sentences regarding the job position and the company, why this specific company could be perfect match for you. So it's not mandatory to have a cover letter, but if it's your dream company, take the time to write why you are the best candidate for this role. Because when I have doubts, could it be a good match for my client or not, I go to cover letter and I read it.
Okay, thank you. And for the CV, do you think it should be like 1 page or 2? And should we put a photograph on it or not, a picture or not?
Yes, so regarding CV, it's very, I don't know, maybe like 15 seconds recruiter look at your CV, so they don't read if it's like 5 pages. Sometimes I received, I think, 46 pages CV. It was incredible, but make your CV as short as possible. So 1 page is good, 2 pages are maximum. Regarding photo, we do not suggest to put a photo on the CV, because don't have this bias of I don't know, female, male. No, maybe religion or things like that. So it's good to put your photo on LinkedIn, but on the CV is not mandatory. But if you want to put it, it's good. So it's not a big mistake. So just for example, when I present the CV to my clients, we always remove the information like this. So we keep it more professional and more about the skills.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So now we can move on to Emmanuel's point of view about the job interviews in Luxembourg.
Yep. Maybe I will start by adding a few things to what has been said before. With regards to the work permit for non-EU citizens, it is actually the employer that has to demonstrate with the unemployment authority that it has done all efforts possible to find someone and that it could not find a profile that matches his criteria. And therefore, usually, as Dilara said, usually the work permit for non-EU citizens is granted within 3 weeks. It's usually not a big deal. So it's a very flexible work market from that perspective. On the cover letter, being an employer, if I look at applications with no cover letters, I'm not sure I would retain those which have no cover letter, because I would deem that they are incomplete. And that's part of maybe my cultural background too, which ties back to the cultural specificities in Luxembourg. You need to realize that I think that the common grounds of all nationalities in Luxembourg, which makes this melting pot a bit unique, is that it has the German rigor with a French flair. And I'm not surprised that Dilara received 46 pages applications, because I believe it came from a German, where in Germany it is customary to put a certified copy of all your diplomas, all your certificates, all what you did during your student's life or during
also
your
the
career.
references.
Yeah, all the references. And it's customary for the employer to return that back to the candidate after the recruitment process. Now, I think we've already talked about multicultural environment, but I think that to reply one of the questions, fluency in multiple languages is a must-have. If you speak English and French, you're basically eligible for 60%, I think, of the open positions in this country. So the more languages you speak, the better off you are, because it also shows that you have the ability to switch from one culture to the other, and to navigate in a very multicultural environment. I know of many people who do speak 5 or 6 different languages in Luxembourg, and it's really not uncommon. What you need to also understand or realize is that those who have made all the studies from the primary school to secondary school, because universities usually, students usually go abroad for university, but in the traditional Luxembourg education system, the first 2 years are in German, then the next 2 years are in French or vice versa, and then comes in Luxembourgish. So depending on the topics, the pupils have lectures in German, in Luxembourgish, in French, and or in English. Being able to speak different languages is also the ability to switch from one language to the other within seconds. You can have meetings in English, and all of a sudden you have an aparté in French with French people, or you have an aparté in German with German people, and then you come back to English because it is a commonly spoken language. It is the commonly spoken language in business. I tend to believe that French and Luxembourgish are the commonly spoken languages in day-to-day life, depending on where you live. If you live closer to the German border, obviously German is much more spoken. If you live in the south, then it's French, which is much more spoken. And if you live in the north, then it's 100% Luxembourgish. Mehdi has already touched base on that, but I think that there is no common management style in Luxembourg. There's no common work approach. It really depends on the dominant culture in the organization. If you work for a French origin bank, most of the meetings would be conducted in French, and you would have a very French stylish management style. If you work for a German company, you would have a more German approach. Now, once again, the common denominator is more English culture. The you, the tu is much more used than the vous. And it's just natural to go through very close relationships with people. And I think that from my experience also, when you're young, you tend to also go out together for drinks on the Friday, 5 o'clock down the pub, as one says in London, which is quite common also in Luxembourg. I think that in Luxembourg, as Mehdi said, it's performance over presence, and diplomas are not the key recruitment factor, not like in France, I believe. Because first, you're exposed to international environment. Second, newcomers to the country come from all over the world, all kinds of universities. You have people from Yale, you have people from INSEAD, you have people from EMLYON, you have people from Universität Trier, you have people from Erasmus University in Rotterdam, Bocconi, whatever. And therefore, it's more what makes a difference, in my opinion, is first the level of university and bachelor or master that you've achieved, but what you've done also apart from your studies. So what was your life when you were a student, and you were taking care of charities, you were taking care of sports, you were taking care of the BDI, Bureau des Internationaux. So whether you have already also sort of mini management experience, and whether you've done something else than just studying. I think that's something which is very important also in Luxembourg, is that you need to know what you do not know. And I come back to what Mehdi was saying before with this French attitude, which is often reproached to Frenchmen abroad, which is saying, yes, we're French. Well, I'm French still from my passport. But do not lose mind that you're only at the beginning of your career, and that you still have many, many, many things to learn. And Luxembourg is really pushing on lifelong learning with continuous professional training. Finally, and I will cite you an anecdote. Luxembourg is also a nationality, and it is also a culture. The Luxembourg language is spoken, it exists, it is spoken, and if you want to get into the Luxembourg inner circles, you're better off speaking Luxembourgish. And yeah, once again, Luxembourg nationals come in more languages than you do, and switch from one to the other very easily. So you can have, I think it's one of the only countries I know, maybe apart from the US and London, where you can have a dinner with 12 people at home, and you have 12 different nationalities, which brings an open mind set, and which really brings something different. And it is the same in business meetings. Often you have 5 or 6 people around the table, and you have 5 or 6 different nationalities, and you need to manage the cultural differences between the Japanese way of doing and the Irish way of doing, and the French way of doing, or the US way of doing. And that's very important. And I can give you an anecdote. I know of someone who was a prominent manager of a very large hotel in Paris, who applied for a job at Post, top executive job, and he was not retained because he was too French.
I love the anecdotes. Thanks, Emmanuel. So before going to part 3, I saw some questions in the chat box. So maybe there's a question for Mehdi about consultancy. Do you think that it's rather French or German, the second language in Luxembourg? French.
French.
Okay.
Barely, yeah, for sure. So, for example, I can give you, I'm just going to jump on the point that mentioned Emmanuel. For example, to give you an example that diploma and they really don't care about your diploma and everything. At PwC, for example, you can be from HEC or Harvard. You're going to have the same salary than someone who is coming from ECN. So that could be a bit of frustration when you're from France and that you know that you did the top school and most of the company in France they are applying you know some an order in terms of which school you are coming from. But here that's how it is. It proves you and it shows you that they don't really care about they just care about your performance. If you perform well, your salary gonna increase for sure, but that's not where you're coming from, which school you're coming from. That's gonna be really important. I'm not saying that in all of the company in Luxembourg they don't apply some different salary, but the mindset, the spirit is like this one. And I know that the other big four are doing the same.
Yeah, I have a little remark. Maybe it's more like for European institution, for them, for some state companies, your grid will be depending on the education you have, your diploma. But in the private companies, I agree with Manuel and Mehdi. It's not a big deal.
But most of the time, a company that is public, you need to be Luxembourgish or to have to speak Luxembourgish or to be Luxembourgish, no?
You have to speak Luxembourgish. You do not need any longer to be Luxembourgish.
But you need to speak it.
In civil service, at least.
Yes, it's true. And about the languages, I wanted to mention that there are a lot of different events, courses, and even Luxembourgish government, they like help you to learn Luxembourgish and help you to learn other languages. So if you're into that, you can check some like integration contracts and you can receive some vouchers for learning languages. So it's really appreciated here.
Luxembourgish is currently much more spoken than 28 years ago, because it is also the common language in schoolyards.
Exactly.
So for the participants, don't hesitate to use the chat box to ask questions. And also there was a question that was quite interesting from Francis. Is the Lux Alumni Club still active and can it be useful for helping EMLYON job seekers? So
I saw this question, and actually it's not a club, but I'm, for example, the ambassador of the EMLYON in Luxembourg. So, for example, I'm gathering with two of my colleagues questions for people who are looking at a job or who get question on the market or who is joining, for example, Luxembourg and wants to be want to know more or to be included in some groups, I don't know. And also all of the events, the after work and everything, we are organizing the things. So if you have any point or any question, you can for sure reach out to me. There is no problem.
Thank you very much, Mehdi. So now we can.
Well, can I take the question which just popped up? Which real estate rental site do you recommend? Where do you recommend to live if you don't have a driver's license? Real estate rental, I would say home.lu, and there are several others. But I think that something which is really important to know about Luxembourg is that public transportation is very well developed and is free. It is the only country in the world where you can take the train or the bus for free.
For free every day.
Every day.
That's huge. That's crazy. That's huge. I remember, that's an anecdote. I remember the first time I arrived at Luxembourg, I was with like all of my luggage stuff. I came into the bus and I was like, please, I don't found where I have to pay my tickets. And the guy was like, no, you can enter. I was like, yes, but I don't want to, I don't want to have a fee or anything. No, but it's free. I was like, sorry, it's free. And all of the trains in Luxembourg, the tram, the bus, everything is free. So that's making definitely difference.
And in the greater Luxembourg area, So Luxembourg and the vicinities immediately around Luxembourg, I think you have a bus every 10 minutes on average, unless I'm mistaken.
But there is a cost for this actually, and most of the people that I know, or they're flat sharing, who just not experienced people, but more junior profile, or they are at the border and they take the train. So you have, for example, I'm gonna say 40 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 between 30 and 40 minutes from Thionville. And when you're at the gare, you arrive at the gare. Normally it should be okay. Like you should be at 12 minutes, 15 minutes or 20 minutes maximum of where you should work from the gare. Yeah. So if you don't have any car, and it's better when you're at Thionville to don't have any car. I'm gonna say, the only point when you don't have any car, I have my car because I'm living in Esch, so it's the second biggest city in Luxembourg. It's easier for me because I'm like 15 minutes from my work and it's okay. But in Luxembourg, transportation or the last train for Thionville is at 10 p.m., 10:20. So if you don't have any car and you're living at the border, that could bother you actually. That could be a problem. Like, this is to be honest. There is no train after 10 p.m. So either you stay until 6 a.m. and you take the first train after the party, or you have to leave earlier, or you have to know someone who has a car and to organize yourself before. But you cannot let things to the you can live where you find not expensive accommodation. But, well, yeah, but good luck for this actually. Good luck.
Well, salaries are higher, but the cost of living is also higher.
Yeah, but that's too much. Actually, the difference is too huge. If you pay if you have an apartment, if you have just a room, for example, a room that you're gonna share in a I don't know, a house, for example, with between 8 and 10 rooms, you're gonna, so 8 and 10 people, you're gonna pay between 7 and 8, and also maybe 900 euro. So that's huge. That's super expensive to share a home, a house, with 10 people, with two I don't know, like two toilet and 2 bathroom. So that's good. The first year could be a bit annoying, depending with who you're flat sharing.
We have a question about taxes. So no, Luxembourg is not a tax-free country. From a certain level of income, you even pay more taxes than in France.
And we have also a question from Maël Williams. What is the recruitment period we have to take into account, 4 or 6 months or 1 year before our internship period?
Yeah, I can take this one. In Luxembourg, I think everyone prefers to do things in advance. But 1 year, maybe it's a bit too long, because I'm not sure that many companies already know about their internship needs 1 year before. So I would say 6 months is more than enough for the recruitment period.
That's what happened for me. I signed my contract for my internship end of January when I joined Luxembourg, and it was for the 1st of July. But I know people, I know one friend, he signed his contract in June for 1st of August. So depending the opportunity, depending many things, the needs also. So.
I started to look in July, and in August I already found one. So it depends maybe on the period, but I would say from August. So right. In summer there is a higher, and then from January. So it's better to avoid any risk and anticipate the opportunities. So start to look for it in advance, and then you have more choices to choose from.
I know that there is two in Big Four. There is two key period. It's September, October for audit, for example, and January. Like those one are the two key points. And for example, in January at PwC, it's already too late. If you want, now it's already too late. If you want to apply in January, you need to start your application during the summer. Yeah. So
Yeah,
if
so
you're
6 months
applying
in
for,
advance.
yeah. Most of the time, 6 months is really good. You maximize your chance to be in. If it's too much, they're gonna forget. And if you are if it's too late, there is no offer anymore.
Okay, for the moment, we don't have any other question for part 2, but don't hesitate to use the text on the box. Yeah, we have a new question. Does the pharmaceutical companies have offices in Luxembourg? Where's the sand there?
Let me see the question. Does pharmaceutical companies have office in Luxembourg?
That's a very good question.
That's a good question.
You have 1 or 2 large pharmaceutical products distributors. So those who have warehouses and dispatch the medicines to pharmacists. I'm not aware of any pharmaceutical plant in the country. However, I think that I cannot imagine that there's no pharmaceutical holding companies in Luxembourg.
Well, I know that Eurofin, it's not your pharmaceutical company, but they work for tests and they work closely with pharma. I think they moved the headquarters from Nancy to Luxembourg. I also not an expert on pharma industry. I know there are a lot in Switzerland, but in Luxembourg, there are presence of some pharma companies, but I'm not aware 100% about the scene there.
Yes, I agree, because one of my friends will do an internship in Luxembourg at Eurofin in January. So I think it's the main company there, maybe.
Yeah, they have a laboratory there, so they do a lot of tests for pharma, not only also for space industry and COVID-related things.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have a public research institute, the LIST also, which is somehow related to healthcare on some of that topic.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're going to go to the third and last part, the top 3 best advice to job seekers. So firstly, we will have the point of view and the tips from Mehdi.
So me, I maybe don't have the same experience than Emmanuel, so that's why I started by saying super finance oriented, because what I'm seeing most of the time, it's finance opportunities. So I will start by be aware that Luxembourg is strongly looking for financial profile, because every day, that's like all of me, I'm in consultancy, so all of my clients, like I don't have any clients with who I work that are not in financial sector. So yes, for sure, like when you see construction, I totally agree with Emmanuel. The city, since I arrived, has completely changed. So there is now 2 or 3 new tram station. There is some banks, they came from nowhere, from the street, from the ground to a building where people are now working. And it's like 1 year and a half that I'm here. So there is sector for sure, yeah, hotel and everything they are looking for, yeah. But most of the time, like all of the clients that we have, all of the business that we're doing is in finance. So which is good is that all of the line of services in finance, you can find it. So I wrote some couple of it, investment bank and fund, private retail and wholesale banking, depository bank, financial institution, and all of the type of work, all of the position. So you can be in compliance, accountant, advisory consultant, audit, tax, banker, lawyer, tax specialist. So you can really, it's like the heaven of finance, the Luxembourg. So whatever you want to specialize in, you will never be stuck in a position. You can always move to one to another to gather many kind of knowledge in finance. So I would say that if you are looking for interested by finance, Luxembourg is a really good place, but it's not the only sector for sure. dare. For me here, what I'm seeing here, people who dare, they really got some audacious things. Whatever, where you're coming from, schools, background, we said about diploma, they don't care about diploma or your origin. In Luxembourg, they're less influenced by those criteria than in France, for example. And the market needs are really high in terms of candidate. I know because I'm speaking with partners every day at PwC and in also at the client here, for example, in the bank. They are looking for people. They are looking for competent people, but they are ready to sometimes to hire some people that are not enough experience just to give them the chance to dare and to try if they think that they're able to make the job. So it's really important to try and to dare and to not be shy. And like I heard just before, I don't know who said this, but and they do thousands and thousands of interview. Don't hesitate to come back to it. Like that's super important. It happens. I see the busy here sometimes. I'm finishing sometimes at 1 or 2 o'clock, 2 a.m. And it's the case for many people. So if you don't come back to them, the guys that have the daily business, the client needs. So they forget. It happens to forget. And if you come back, there is 2 things. If you come back, you demonstrate that you're really involved in this application first, and secondly, the guy who forgot you gonna be a bit empathic and say, oh yeah, I completely forgot. I need to come back to this person. So it will show empathy and determination. So that's nice. And I think Emmanuel will be really agree with me. In life, in general, network is key, but in Luxembourg, network is making 80% of the job. If you have a good reputation in Luxembourg, I think you can go almost everywhere because it's small, it's super dense, and so once you're well installed, the network is key, and it can make your whole business, and that's making the difference. It's a kind of small Paris, but super dense. So that's true. And everybody knows everybody. If you messed up somewhere, you can be sure that any place you're gonna go, everybody will know it. So be aware of this. And each time that if you have a job, if some of people here have got a job, be 100% on it and really try to make good impression, because in Luxembourg, that's, if you messed up, it's a good thing in a way, but it could be really bad in another way if you messed up. So if you're doing the job, it's gonna be really good for you, but if you're missing the thing, it can be bad. That are my advice.
Good advices. Thank you, Mehdi. So now we will have the top 3 advices from Dilara.
Yes, I just wanted to also continue what Mehdi was saying regarding the image and reputation that Luxembourg is very small. And yeah, my friends told me, like, who worked in Deloitte, they were saying them during integration week that be aware that whenever you are like in the restaurant, after work, in the club, in the pub, you always represent Deloitte, because you can speak about like your manager saying that I don't know, some things you didn't appreciate, but the person next to you could be his wife or yeah. This is, you need to be very careful and professional, because everyone knows everyone. Like, it's super small environment, and it's very important to be how did they say, do not bite the arm who's feeding you. So even if you met some difficulties, especially in Big Four, because it's very like stressful environment, there are different hierarchy, like a lot of managers, be thankful, be grateful. If you think it's not your path, not your environment, just quit professionally, don't speak behind people back in Luxembourg, and be attentive on that point. It's very important.
I fully concur with you. There is an old Luxembourgish tradition is that when you enter into a restaurant, you first look into who's sitting there to greet those you know, or to leave if you want to be quiet.
So much that you're totally right.
Yeah, and something also which is true is that in Luxembourg, most of the ladies keep their maiden name, so you do not necessarily know who is married with whom.
Ah, that's why.
That's right. That's right.
Mean, I can, no, I will not disclose names here.
Oh,
although it is public information in Luxembourg, but I mean, the wife of Claude Marx, who's one of the directors of the Financial Sector Supervision Commission, she works at Banque de Luxembourg at a very senior position. And I know many examples like that. So
yeah, so much.
You should be very careful.
Yeah, because it's not like in Paris or Lyon or any city where you go out, you have like, I don't know, 5% to meet a person around you that you know. But me, for example, I did a lunch with my partner last time. We were at the restaurant. The first thing he did when we set it down, he looked at everybody in the restaurant, like you just said, and just to see, and you can be sure, like 95% of the time, I know him, I know this. Me too. Now that I'm in Luxembourg, sometimes I'm hearing things. It's the first time of my life I'm going somewhere and we speak about common people. Like that's, I think my daily life, and I think it's also your daily life, Emmanuel and Dilara also. 95% of the time you are speaking about common people with people that you don't know. So that's huge, and it's happening many times, more than in other places.
I think in Luxembourg, especially in the financial services industry, everyone knows everyone at a maximum of 2 levels. Yeah, which is extremely close. And I will give you an anecdote. 3 weeks ago, I was watching a rugby game at RC Welfare d'Ange, and I suddenly realized that one of my newly recruited compliance officer is actually coaching the U6, and the referee who was whistling the game is one of the senior partners of Deloitte. As simple as that.
Yeah, also I have another example in mind. Like when I just started as an IT recruiter, okay, I did a lot of interviews with candidates, proposing it to my clients, and I was receiving the feedback, okay, that they don't want to work with him again because through the rumors, they know that it was the team lead of someone and blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's more for the future stuff, not for the new fresh graduated people, but just for the future that keep a good image and reputation, because you never know how you will meet again in the environment. And I
can give you a concrete example. I have, when I was in tax, because I studied in tax at PwC, I have 2 colleagues at this moment, and one of them have been fired. Okay. This one, he completely messed up at PwC. And like this year, I think it was last year, and this year he was applying at a job, and he got the job, fixed term contract. And my best friend, who's also from EMLYON, who is working for Bearing Point, but was in mission in the company of this guy, he met him, and he was speaking about the guy. He told me, yes, I have a guy. He was also at PwC. He passed 9 months at PwC, which is not right. He passed 4 or 5 months because they fired him because before the end of the
trial period.
Exactly, trial period. And we were speaking about him, but I didn't catch at this moment that it was him. And then he started to say he was in tax, and he got the specificity of the story that he had a leasing car, and after 2 weeks he had to give back the car. And I know exactly which is the car. And when he spoke about this, I was like, okay, but this guy, I know him. And he was saying that this guy at the company where he's today he quit PwC because they didn't deserve what he was doing, and he was senior consultant, but he was doing the job of a senior manager, which is absolutely not true because I was in the same department than him. And I was like, okay, but you remember I was speaking about a guy last time, but it was him, and he didn't quit the job. He has been fired, and he gave back the car. And my friend said, but I remember the story that you told me. And now they are working together. And this guy asked to join another company because it's a fixed term contract. So after this contract, he wanted to join another company. One of my closest best friend also from Paris is in this company. She saw the CV. The HR and the partner who saw the CV just called someone from PwC to ask who is this person, and they said the absolutely all the truth. And in the CV, they saw that he was lying. And the partner of this guy who was in PwC saw the CV and just said to the HR, this guy is lying. He didn't done this, and he didn't stay 9 months, but 5 months. And it's absolutely destroying his image. So it's done for him. The game is done for him. So that's a concrete example of how it is in Luxembourg.
So advice from that, be honest, don't lie on your CV, because people check references. I'm as a recruiter in Hayes, we always ask references for our candidates, even if I'm working, for with freelancers, with entrepreneurs for the projects. It's important for which projects you worked and what impact you left when you didn't work for the company anymore. So if you're applying for the jobs, also prepare the references. It could be maybe someone from your internship. So make some contacts, ask for good references, and leave the place at a good image. So yeah, it could be like two sides of one medal regarding the small country. And people who work here. So as Mehdi was saying, network is very, very important. And people who knows also can open you some doors because like they knew you or you studied together. That's why EMLYON, alumni events and networking is also very, very important and very big advantage because I have like many examples when you just attend some events and you immediately did some contacts and through the referrals you got the job because we discussed an example when people say, do not hire this person, he's not good, he's lying. And it could be the opposite, that they say, I work with him on the project, he did great things, it's the best Scrum Master I ever seen, he's able to put people together and everyone is motivated on the project. So on LinkedIn, we have a section like when you give references and also receive it. It could be one way, but also through the references you provide, through the projects you speak during interviews. It's a very good point because sometimes on interviews, which I do, sometimes I'm like doubting if it's if it's true or not true what is written on the CV, because when I check the references, it could be wrong dates, it could be wrong period, and sometimes people could even not work there. So your CV should be correct. And I've seen the questions regarding the CV format. So I suggested you to check a Europass CV format. So it's quite familiar to many employers. So if you do not you don't know which format to use, you can check Europass. And I would suggest, if it's not like designer role, to not use many colors and decorations. It should be quite settled, black and white, blue and white in the corporate colors, and not too much creative because it's very hard to read when your skills is up on the page and some projects are at the end and there is no education. So it should be more structured. And I receive a direct message if it could be one page of CV or more. So if you are just graduated from EMLYON, I don't think you have like a lot of experience to put on 3 pages. So keep your education, keep your important projects, and try to put it in 1 page, because this is better, but 2 pages are okay. It's not a big mistake. Regarding the top 3 best advices I would give, so we already covered the networking part. There are so many events in Luxembourg which are organized by expats, by HR community, and it's important if you go to them, you speak about you, and you tell to any light on the road that you're looking for the job, because sooner or later it will work out and you will find it. So this is about networking, attending the job fairs, meet people, and make connections. Regarding the soft skills, it was a surprise for me that sometimes it's counting more your soft skills rather than hard skills. I had a candidate on the phone who told me, Dilara, you thinking like American, but you work in Europe. So here it's important, what personality do you have? Are you team member? Are you able to work in international environment? Do you have positive attitude or not? So those kind of organizational communicational skills are really important. Even if in IT, for example, like I usually was just seeing the soft skills, like if the person can actually do the job, but in Luxembourg, and I think in Europe in general, it's very important what the person you are, because you're not only sharing the job, but it's it's an experience you go for after work, you go for some kind of activities together. So it's important to maintain your soft skills and highlight them during the interviews. So this is about soft skills. And yeah, regarding languages part, we already covered a lot about that. I would say if you're only speaking English, you still have possibility to find a job. But if you speak more, you have like native Chinese, or you speak, let's say French, German, it can open you more doors. And if you just have a language in not fluent level, still put it on your CV. You can say that you're still practicing it and you're doing some courses. So it's important to know that you are willing to learn. And if you want to reach more managerial roles, I would say that French would be, maybe the second important language after English.
Okay, thank you very much, Dilara. So time flies really fast today. So we're going to have the last 3 best advices from Emmanuel, and then we will finish with the questions and answers after that.
Well, I think we've covered pretty much of all the these 3 advices, or the 3 advice I put black on white. Yeah, be humble. Your diploma is not who you are. It's a diploma, and it's not, your diploma is not either who you will be. It's just the starting point. And if I look at the career paths or the professional paths of the people of my my alumni fellow 1991 PG program diplômés, we have so various achievements in professional and personal life, which is incommensurate. Flexibility, openness. I think that's clear. Certainly most acumen in Luxembourg, where we really have a multicultural environment. It's not often that I have a meeting in English and that 3 minutes later I have a meeting in German and then one in Danish. This is really not uncommon. Or that I speak with a colleague or a co-worker, staff member in Luxembourgish, and then I switch into English. Demonstrate your ability to cope with different management and operational approaches. And to that, I would encourage you to have a look at cross-cultural differences. I'm not sure whether this is still taught or whether this is taught in the PGU programs in Lyon, but if you want to have an approach on that, I can only recommend a fantastic book by Erin Meyer, who's an associate professor at INSEAD, which is called Cross-Cultural Map, which will give you some hints as to how to manage different cultures and different standpoints. Get familiar with the country. I mean, if you want to apply to Luxembourg, obviously you need to I would tend to think that you need to know at least which are the 5 largest cities. What is the industry looking like? What is the percentage of forests in the country? Which is, I think, 67% on top of my head. And how far you are from Paris, from Brussels, and from Maastricht or from Bonn. Get familiar with the company, its sector, its specificities, its regulations. I mean, as an employer for a first job, I'm not looking necessarily for someone who's 100% literate in the 500 pages of the IFM directive, or who's literate with the 200 pages of risk management regulations that apply to the industry I evolve in. But at least I want to have a common understanding of what a bank is, what a fund is, what an insurance company is, what they do, how they work. And I believe it is the same for the recruiters in the construction industry, in the glass industry, in the steel industry, and in all the other industries which are represented in this fabulous country.
Okay, thank you very much, Emmanuel. So now, if the participants want, you can ask your questions directly to the speakers by you can unmute your microphone if you want, and ask this directly your questions. And otherwise, you can also ask on the chat. We can wait a bit if there are some questions. There was Jasmine Otmani that had just only a remark about Luxembourg, that there are a lot of European institutions in Luxembourg. I don't know if you want to give more details or add something about that.
Not official.
I think it's 100% correct. Well, Luxembourg is one of the founding members of the European Community at the time, and now the European Union. I'm pretty sure that everyone is more or less aware of the Treaty of Schengen, which allowed for the free movement of people within the European Union. And Schengen is a Luxembourg city which is on the Moselle River, just opposite Germany. So noteworthy, we have the European Court of Justice, we have the European Investment Bank, the European Investment Fund, the European Commission, the European Court of Auditors is also based in Luxembourg, if I'm not, and many more.
I saw one question. It's what are the salaries in finance for 3-5 years experience? What are the taxes? So it depends. What do you mean by finance? There is finance and finance. If you're, for example, in a consultancy company, it will be different than in bank. It will be then different than in a private equity company. It will be different than in an investment fund. It will also depend of your position. If you're a private banker, it will be different than if you are a compliance officer. So in finance, that's a bit too large. But I would say, let's say in Big Four. Okay, in Big Four, 3 years it's senior consultant, 5 years it's manager. So I would say if you're a manager, it's around 89K. Senior, it's 64, around 64. But there is like 3 years of senior most of the time. So it's gonna be between 60, 64, 5 and 70, 75, 72, 72K. And once you pass manager, it's 90K. And what are the taxes? Actually, the taxes are like in France. It's a real myth. People, I don't know why people think that in Luxembourg we're not paying taxes. You are paying same taxes almost than in France. I would say maybe even more, a bit more, but just a bit more. About like maybe 150 or 100 euro. But we are paying taxes like in France on your salary. It's different when you're a company. There is a other way to. It's all the same. Then why do people become frontalier? Because real estate. My my dear, because when you're paying an apartment 1,500 euro in Luxembourg, and you can have another apartment bigger alone for 600 euro, you go to the frontier. You go to the frontier. You're saving 1,000 euro per month, and that's a lot. That's making the difference. That's why I said on the tips that I gave, depending your priority, depending your will, depending your expectation. If you're here to make money, to save money, you're gonna go to the frontier. If you're here to live the Luxembourgish life, I don't know, to be in, to feel comfortable and everything, you're gonna be in the city center, but you're gonna pay the cost.
I think the reply, I fully agree with you, Mehdi, and I think the reply to that question is very simple. You have the difference in rental cost, and the average price of a flat in Luxembourg is about 9,000 euros per square meter, which is very similar to Paris or to other cities.
I also wanted to add regarding the salary part. So at Hayes, we have a salary guide. Depends on different industry, including finance and the grid for junior, mid-year, and the senior level. So I can just send the link in the chat, and you can download the salary guide and have a look what is the market looks like.
That's a good idea.
Okay, thank you very much, Yudop. You were the last person to ask the questions. So thank you all for your attention, and also thank you very much for the amazing speakers that we had today, Dilara, Mehdi, and Emmanuel. So also don't forget to register to our next destination, Ireland, on January 27th. It's also in the EMLYON alumni platform. And also you can see the slides and the replay of this webinar on the EMLYON alumni platform in a few days' time. So we hope that you had a good time, that you learned a lot about Luxembourg specificities, and yeah, can't wait to see you on the next destination.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
for having us.
Looking forward to seeing you at the next EMLYON alumni in Luxembourg.
Yeah, for sure, Emmanuel and okay. Let's try to see us.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Linda, Eddie.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.